Alright, what's up you guys, and welcome back to the 98 English course. In today's recording we're going to be going over Unit 2, the daily life. We're obviously going to start with the key vocabulary and then we're going to move on to the listening section. Okay, so here we go. Digital communication, cell phone, laptop, MP3 player, social networking site, texting, voice call, website, daily routine, brush my hair, brush my teeth, catch the bus, get dressed, get home, get up, go to bed, go to sleep, have a shave, have a shower, leave home, lock the door, pack my bag, put on makeup, wake up. Frequency adverb: always, never, often, sometimes, usually, others, advantage, alarm, disadvantage. Okay? Now let's move on to the listening, you guys. And here we have about 8 pictures. Yeah, we have 8 pictures. And these are obviously things related to technology and the modern world. So guys, just have a pause for a second and kind of just let me know, what are you seeing in front of you in terms of these pictures? Like, what do you see in these pictures? I know for me personally, I see a social networking website here, Facebook. I see people talking face to face, for example. I see text messages. Okay, so things of that nature. So now we're gonna hop into exercise A here, and we're actually gonna listen to the audio, which is gonna contain words of these pictures. You guys know the drill, and you guys have to just point them out or write the numbers down. Okay, let's go.
16. Unit 2. Daily Life. Lesson 1. Listening. Exercise A. Listen and point.
A cell phone.
A laptop.
An MP3 player.
A face-to-face conversation.
A text message.
An email message.
A Google page.
A social networking site.
Do you have your cell phone with you?
Do you have a laptop?
Do you have a good MP3 player?
Do you have many face-to-face conversations every day?
Can you send me a text message?
How many emails do you get every day?
Do you use Google for research?
What is your favorite social networking site?
Alright, pretty straightforward stuff. Easy. Now let's move on to exercise B here. Listen to the first part of a sociology lecture. Okay. So here we have, what digital methods do teenagers use? Obviously we're going to have the answers to this through the audio. So I'm going to play it once first, and then I'm going to play it again and while I write down the answers. Okay? So here you go, you guys.
17. Exercise B. Listen to the first part of a sociology lecture.
In sociology this week, we're looking at the daily life of teenagers in the modern world. Today, I'm going to look at teenagers and technology. Teenagers are living in the digital age. What does that mean? It means that teenagers use digital methods for communication. Digital methods use a computer in some way. Communication methods include emails, text messages, and cell phone conversations. They also use digital methods for entertainment. Entertainment methods include MP3 players. Finally, they often use digital methods for research. Research methods include search engines like Google, and they also include websites.
Alright, so here we had different digital methods that teenagers use in their daily lives. So what do they use exactly for communication? Anything about entertainment, for example? Because we do know teenagers use entertainment. That's a must nowadays. And finally, research. We know teenagers use the internet to their advantage when doing schoolwork and university work as well. So let's give it a listen one more time, but as we go, I'll be pausing it to write down the answers. I hope you already have some of the answers down, but if not, that's okay. Alright, here we go.
7.
In sociology this week, we're looking at the daily life of teenagers in the modern world. Today, I'm going to look at teenagers and technology. Teenagers are living in the digital age. What does that mean? It means that teenagers use digital methods for communication. Digital methods use a computer in some way. Communication methods.
Okay, so just a quick touch up here. So basically, in this modern age, we're using a computer in some way, shape, or form. And when I'm talking about a computer, I don't necessarily mean the bulky CPU that we're used to, guys. I'm talking about things that could be classified as a computer. So for example, a smartphone, an MP3 player, a laptop. All of these things are considered computers, okay? So I'm not talking about just basically as a monitor and a CPU beside it. That's not the definition of one computer anymore, okay?
Include emails, text messages, and cell phone conversations.
Okay, so now we know that teenagers, when using methods of communication, they use things such as emails, okay, texts, and they also use cell phone conversations, okay? So communication methods include emails, texts, and finally cell phone conversations.
They also use digital methods for entertainment.
Alright, and we know a lot about this. Obviously, I'm going to go a little bit off topic just for a second here. So in this topic, he only says that, or actually, let me play it so he says the answer and then I'll keep going.
Entertainment methods include MP3 players.
Okay, so notice how he only said MP3 players. In my opinion, we do a lot more for entertainment, more than MP3 players. So we use different. We watch TV series now on our laptops, on our phones, and stuff like that. We play video games on these things. Things have improved and will continue to improve in the coming years even more. Okay, so in terms of entertainment, just to stay for on topic's sake, we're just gonna write down MP3 player for now. Okay, but just opening your minds, you guys. I just want to let you know that there's a lot more entertainment than MP3 players. So MP3 players here. Now let's move on.
Finally, they often use digital methods for research. Research methods include search engines like Google, and they also include websites.
Okay, so this is not new. We know that a lot of students and people in general as well use the internet to their advantage for research, obviously. So what do we use exactly for research? Like, how do we use the internet to our advantage to gain research? We do it by either search engines, so think of Google, Bing, Yahoo, all these things, but obviously Google is the top one right now, and obviously other small websites and blogs and things of videos, things of that nature. So we'll write down Google and websites. Okay, so research, Google, and websites, and that's it. Yeah, alright. So pretty simple stuff, you guys. Digital methods that teenagers use for communication, emails, texts, and cell phone conversations. Entertainment MP3 players, and finally, research, they use the Google search engine and other different websites. Now, let's move on to exercise C. Listen to the next part of the lecture. What does the lecturer say about teenagers? Okay, so we have some information here, and a lot of these are going to be false according to the lecturer, but one is going to be correct. He might not say it directly. We're going to have to figure it out, okay? So I'm going to actually play this twice. Try to get the answer in the first time, you guys.
18. Exercise C. Listen to the next part of the lecture. What does the lecturer say about teenagers? Tick one or more sentences.
So this is the digital age. Teenagers in many countries use digital methods to communicate with their friends. They don't often talk to them face to face, and they don't often talk to them on the phone. Teenagers today communicate in a different way from their parents.
Okay, so this is obviously an indirect way of saying that they send a lot of text messages, you guys. I hope you're able to get that. I'm going to actually play it one more time here, but give me a second to elaborate more on why I chose they send a lot of text messages. So he said that they don't really talk a lot on the phone, okay? And teenagers don't talk a lot face to face, that's a fact. And he said that they don't really communicate in the same way as their parents, but he never mentioned that they use digital methods more than their parents. I mean, they probably do, but he never said it, right? However, you only have one option left out of all of these, and that is they send a lot of text messages. That is basically their main source of communication nowadays. So let me play one more time.
18. Listen to the next part of the lecture. What does the lecturer say about teenagers? Tick one or more sentences.
So this is the digital age. Teenagers in many countries use digital methods to communicate with their friends. They don't often talk to them face to face.
Okay, so we know they don't talk face to face.
And they don't often talk to them on the phone.
Okay, they don't talk a lot on the phone, so these two are out.
Teenagers today communicate in a different way from their parents.
Okay, so they communicate in a very different way from their parents, so number 4 is also out. Alright, that's it. You guys see, he never mentioned anything about how they use digital methods more than their parents. And even if and just because he didn't, it just means that this is irrelevant right now. So we only have one option left, and that is they send a lot of text messages. Okay, you guys? Now, let's move on here. Here we have a bar chart. You guys remember bar charts? We talked about this before. Listen to the next part of the lecture and write the number of minutes next to each bar. So when we talked about bar charts before, we were talking about business studies. And I just want to let you guys know that when people use charts in general, whether it be a flow chart, a pie chart, a bar chart, it is basically either for research or for understanding certain numbers related to activities. For example, here we have spending time on digital methods, for example, or how many times a day what do you do in a day, for example. Your sales in a business company. You guys get the idea. So now let's play the lecture here.
19. Exercise D. Listen to the next part of the lecture. Write the number of minutes next to each bar.
How long do teenagers spend on digital media every day? According to recent surveys, American teenagers spend, on average, 111 minutes every day texting friends.
Okay, so let me actually pause this for a second here. And he said that American teenagers on average spend about 111 minutes a day texting friends. So basically, they spend 111 minutes every single day texting. So we'll write down 111. So that's on average, the average minutes per day that they use to, or they consume basically, texting their friends.
111 minutes. That's nearly 2 hours every day. They spend another 45 minutes talking to their friends on their cell phones.
Okay, so talking with their friends on their cell phone can only mean one thing, and that is voice calls. So they spend another 45 minutes basically just talking on the phone with their friends. So now you got a lot of time on your hands.
So that's 156 minutes on their cell phones, texting and making voice calls. They also communicate with their friends by email. That's another 22 minutes every day.
Okay, so the time used, or the time they use to communicate by email is around 22 minutes. Okay, so they use email 22 minutes, voice calls 45 minutes, and texting 111 minutes.
Finally, they spend 12 minutes a day on social networking sites.
12 minutes a day on social networking sites. So basically social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, these websites, you guys, okay?
So, American teenagers spend 190 minutes every day, on average, communicating with their friends on digital media.
So on average, if we combine it all, we can say that American teenagers spend on average 190 minutes every single day. That is almost 3 hours of just using your cell phone or your computer, or basically staring into a screen. So, wow.
That's more than 3 hours.
So that is more than 3 hours. And in today's age, I honestly think that 3 hours is really not that bad. Some people that make a living of this sort of thing spend like 6+ hours every single day. But hey, I'm not one to talk. Alright, so let's hop into this skills check here, you guys. Here we have recording advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so you're actually gonna hear this quite a lot. When lecturers talk, sometimes they want to have a clear differentiation between advantages and disadvantages. So what you want to do when taking notes, for example, is making a table like this one, right? And going over the advantages and disadvantages as you go, or as the lecturer goes. Some lecturers like to state all of the advantages at once and then the disadvantages, while other lecturers like to state obviously one advantage and one disadvantage, one advantage again and one disadvantage again. So basically it's up to the lecturer. Just make sure you write them down. These will help tremendously in terms of studying and notes. Okay, so here we have exercise E. In the final part, the lecturer talks about communicating by digital methods. Okay, now we're gonna listen and make notes of what we just said. So it's almost 2 minutes, you guys. So be careful, okay? I'm going to let it play and I'll pause it as we go.
20. Exercise E1. Listen and make notes in Table 1.
So, American teenagers spend more than 3 hours every day communicating with friends. They use digital methods. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Some people say it is good. Let's look at the advantages. Firstly, teenagers use digital methods to keep in touch with their friends.
Okay, so here we have our first advantage, and it is that teenagers use the digital methods to keep in touch with friends. So we can write that down as an advantage. So keep in touch with friends. Okay?
Sometimes their friends live in a different town or a different part of the city, but they can talk to them every day. Secondly, for teenagers, digital methods are like friends. They are friends in their pockets or handbags. They are friends in their laptop. They stop them feeling lonely.
Okay, so that is the second advantage actually, and that is that it stops them from getting lonely. So stop them from getting lonely, you guys. Okay? So keeping in touch with friends and stopping them from getting lonely is an advantage by digital methods.
However, some people say that digital methods
Okay, so actually let me pause this for a second. When a lecturer talks or says however, it usually means that he's gonna switch his tone to more of a either negative or a positive side now. So he was talking about the advantages. That means when he says however, either he's gonna elaborate more about the whole stop them from getting lonely situation, or he's gonna move on to the disadvantages. Okay, you guys? Just make note of the word however.
are a bad thing. Let's consider the disadvantages.
Okay, so he was elaborating about them or about stopping them from getting lonely. Now he's going to be talking about the disadvantages.
Firstly, teenagers don't talk to people face to face. They don't learn this important skill for life.
Okay, so it seems that the lecturer has a problem, or he has considered a disadvantage of using digital methods, is that teenagers now don't talk face to face. They only talk online. So this is a really valuable skill that can hurt them in real life when they go to a job interview or just when simply talking to people on the street. So disadvantage number one will be don't learn to talk face to face. And actually I forgot to type the A here. Talk face to face. Okay, you guys? So disadvantage number one, don't learn to talk face to face.
Secondly, digital methods get in the way of schoolwork and university work.
Okay, disadvantage number two is that it can really mess with you mentally, digital methods. So for example, instead of wanting to study or complete important work or even doing research, using a laptop, for example, or not a PC, like a cell phone, can get in the way of using or your schoolwork or university work by either watching videos or other forms of entertainment. So get in the way of school work. Okay, you guys?
Teenagers are texting and emailing each other. They are not doing research. They are not doing homework. They are not doing assignments.
Alright, so I wanted to elaborate just a little bit on this point here, you guys. And I wanted to let you know that this is not really a disadvantage. It's more about the person himself rather than the digital method being used. Because you can do research on Google, but you can also watch funny cat videos on Google. So you guys get the idea. It's basically how different people respond differently to entertainment. So some people can control their time management. You guys remember when I talked about time management before? Some people can control it really well in this day and age. Some people cannot. And the people that can't really control themselves, you usually see them, even though they have a lot of work, you just see them playing around, watching funny cat compilations and things of that nature. So this is not really a disadvantage, but more about the person himself or herself. Okay?
What do you think?
Okay, and now he ends the audio with a really good question, and we have it right here. So what do you think, you guys? What do you personally think? What is your say about this topic? So are digital methods of communication a good thing or a bad thing? And obviously, I'd like for you to pause the video and actually, each one of you, just try and say something. Speak your mind about this situation right here. Because obviously, older people, not all of older people, but a lot of the older folks seem to have this deep hatred towards digital methods and basically technology getting better and better every single year. So personally, for me, I think digital methods, especially ones of communication, are the best thing that's happened to this world. Like, period. Not even, like, do you guys see the amounts of job opportunities that have risen because of the digital methods of communication? Before, like, you were stuck forever in your place. It was really tough to, for example, travel. Now job opportunities are rising like crazy. You can talk to someone from Italy, for example. If you're in Saudi Arabia, you can talk to someone in a blink of an eye. You guys see what I'm getting here? If we remove our negative aspects, obviously, like I said, depending on the person himself, we can get a lot of good. I mean, what is the internet? The internet is a big network where all of the people can come in and join and obviously, have conversations, talk to things, have video calls. And it's your choice or our choice as human beings to either use that for good or for bad. So it's not really, there's always going to be disadvantages with anything that's this big. Just like cars. I mean, you guys never see people talking bad about cars, but they have a lot of disadvantages. Yeah, they can literally get you killed, but you don't see people talking about that. Why? Because the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. Imagine life without a car. That's how teenagers feel nowadays. A guy that was born in 2006, for example, that knows nothing but the internet, will know that a life without an internet is not really a life anymore. You guys get the idea of what I'm talking about here? So it's more of us being human beings and how we balance our time. Okay, you guys, so this is just my take on it. You should let your teacher and your friends know what you personally think of this. Okay, now let's move on. Here we have exercise F. How long do you spend communicating by digital methods every day on average? Okay, so this is going to be entirely up to you. This is just like a bar chart like the one above here. So we're going to be using the same method. I'm going to obviously talk about myself, but you're going to have different numbers depending on how you spend your day and your time management and such. So completing the bar chart. So social networking sites. So for me, on average, I spend about, I would say, an hour every day on social media. So around 60. So right here. So I spend around an hour every day on social media. So I don't really use email that much, so around 10 minutes. So around right here. So an hour on social media, 10 minutes on email. Voice calls will probably be, I don't voice call every single day, but when I do, I stay for around 20 minutes. So 20 minutes for voice calls, email 10 minutes, and social media for around an hour. Okay? And finally, we have texting. And I'd say I text a lot. Like, not really that much, but, I get my fair share of texting every single day. So I'd probably say around 40 minutes of texting every single day. Okay? So social media, 60. Email, 10 minutes. Voice calls, 20 minutes. And finally, texting, 40 minutes. Obviously, I don't encourage for you to copy these numbers. Use your own numbers and don't lie, okay? Pretty simple stuff. Now let's move on to speaking, you guys. Alright, you guys, here we have the speaking section, and it looks like we have around 12 pictures, and this actually looks like a daily routine. So let's actually go to exercise A. Look at the photographs of actions from daily life. Okay, so these are things that most of us do in our daily life, and he wants us to match the verb phrases in the box with the photographs. So let me actually open this here so you guys can get a better look. Look at the pictures here and try to associate the verbs in the box with the pictures. So here we have a sandwich, here we have a girl going to bed, and someone's waking up over here. So let's go over them together. So here we have number 1. What do you guys see in number 1? That's correct. You see someone getting up to either go to work, go to school, go to university, whatever. So we'll just put that here. So number 1 is wake up. And what about number 2? So this one was wake up. What do you guys think this is? That's correct. Get up. Someone, he woke up, but now he's about to, get up and start his day. And then number 3, this one should be pretty obvious. It's a picture of food, and it's a meal that almost all of us have. What is it? That's correct. It's breakfast. So have breakfast. And then number 4, this one's simple. Leave home. Okay, you guys? So wake up, get out of bed, have breakfast, and leave home. And here we have number 5. This one just looks like a bus. So catch the bus. Here it is. Catch the bus. Okay? Then we have number 6 is, I'm guessing these are students and they're listening to a lecture. So listening to lectures. Okay, and I'm guessing we can use listen to lectures twice because we have it 2 times in the box here. So number 7 is just a picture of a sandwich. So I'm guessing, what options do we have? Have a meal, have a sandwich. Okay, so this was convenient. Have a sandwich. And then 8 is, I'm guessing the students went back to class, so listen to lectures one more time. Okay, you guys? So far we have wake up, get out of bed, have breakfast, leave home, catch the bus, listen to lectures, have a snack or a sandwich, and listen to lectures one more time. Then number 9, we have get home. Okay, someone's coming home from a long day. Then we have simply having a meal. Number 10, whether at home or outside, so have a meal. Okay, and then 11, what is 11? Go to bed. Okay, so you go to bed, and then finally you go to sleep. Okay? Pretty easy stuff, just a simple daily routine. Okay? Now let's move on. Here we have, what time do you do each action? Work in pairs and tell your partner. Okay, so this is obviously going to be entirely up to you, but I'll still do it. So for you personally, in your daily life, what time do you do each action? So let me actually open this one more time again. So for me personally, on school days or university days, I'd wake up at around 5. So 5 a.m. is when I wake up. Get out of bed probably at around 5:10. Okay, I actually do something called intermittent fasting, so I don't really eat breakfast on weekdays. So skip breakfast. This you can write down when do you eat breakfast and such. So for me, no breakfast. Leave home for school or college at about 6:30. So wake up at 5, do what I gotta do, chill for a bit, use this, use that, and then I leave home at around 6:30 a.m. Okay? Catch the bus, or maybe an Uber or an Uber driver or something like that. So catch the bus at around 6:40. Okay? Start attending lectures at around 7. Okay, so 7 a.m. Have a sandwich at 10 a.m. Have another lecture at 12, so now we're talking 12 p.m. Okay, and then I get home around 1 p.m. Okay, have another meal at 2 p.m. Okay, and finally I just go to bed at something along the lines of probably 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. Not the healthiest, but it is what it is. And finally I go to sleep either at 1 or 12 as well. So either as soon as I go to bed or I stay in bed for like another hour on my phone or whatever. Okay, this was my routine. Obviously yours will be so different. Nobody has the same exact routine. So write down your own routine and what is the time in which you do each of these actions. Okay, Now let's move on to exercise C here. Here we're going to be listening to a talk by a university student in China. Okay, and he wants us to make notes in a table like this. Okay, so I want you guys to make a table like this in your notebook or in a sticky note or whatever. Okay, you're going to write time, action, and the digital communication used. Okay, so we're going to be listening to someone's talk now, so this will not be our own information. Okay, you guys? Here, let's have a listen.
23. Exercise C. Listen to a talk by a university student in China.
My name is Lian. I am from Beijing. Beijing is the capital of China. I am a university student. I want to tell you about my daily life. In particular, I want to tell you about using digital communication in my daily life. I always wake up at 6:30 and I get up immediately. I turn on my cell phone. I sometimes get text messages from my friends very early in the morning.
Okay, so writing down notes, we now know that we always got to take note of the time, you guys remember this. So 6:30, and she said she gets up almost immediately, so wake up and get up immediately. And the digital communication used is she turns on her cell phone and she usually has text messages from friends and colleagues and such. Okay?
I wash and I get dressed and I go downstairs. At 7, I have breakfast.
Okay, so time is of essence, you guys. So she said at 7 she has breakfast. So we'll write down 7 breakfast. I don't know why it doesn't let me write here, but it's okay. So 7 breakfast, okay? And now we'll know about the digital communication used or not used.
I don't listen to my MP3 player during breakfast.
Okay, so she does not listen to her MP3 player during breakfast. So that is the digital communication right there.
At 7:30,
7:30, or write it at the time section.
I leave the house and catch the bus to the university.
Okay, so action, she leaves the house and catches the bus.
I always listen to music on the bus.
Okay, so for digital communication, she always listens to music on the bus.
I sometimes text my friends.
And she sometimes, or from time to time, she texts her friends also on the bus.
Lectures start at 8.
Okay, so you see how now this is different? She didn't start with the time, but rather with the action. So we'll say lectures start and time will be 8, so 8 a.m. Okay?
I turn off my cell phone. Some people use their phones in lectures, but I don't. But I sometimes record lectures on my MP3 player.
Okay, so this one's pretty interesting. So for digital communication, we're going to say she turns off cell phone, right? She does not use it in lectures. However, sometimes she records lectures on her MP3 player. Okay? So that's for digital communication. So one more time. Turn off cell phone. She does not use it in lectures, and sometimes she records lectures on MP3 player, okay?
I have lunch at 12.
I have lunch at 12, so again, the action comes first, so have lunch and 12 o'clock.
I talk to my friends.
And she also talks to her friends, so we can write that as a comment, obviously, besides having lunch.
I don't listen to my MP3 player.
Okay, so for digital communication, at 12, or when she's having lunch, she does not listen to her MP3 player.
I go home at 12:30.
She goes home. Again, the action comes first here. So go home will be the action, and the time is 12:30.
I listen to music on the way home and I text my friends.
Okay, so again, like going to study, when she comes back home, she's listening to music on an MP3 player and she's texting friends.
In the afternoon, I look at my notes.
Okay, so in the afternoon. So there's no specific time here. But however, we know that in the afternoon is usually PM, you guys. Okay, so you guys know the difference, AM and PM. So afternoon is usually when PM starts. So instead of writing a specific time, we can just write PM, and for the action, she looks at notes. Okay?
I turn on my laptop and I do research on the internet. I use Google. I listen to music on my MP3 player and I work at the same time. Sometimes my friends call me about the assignments, but usually they send me texts.
Okay, so for digital communication, this one's going to be quite long. We're going to say laptop and then dash, obviously because she's using a laptop. She does research on the internet, okay? And she also listens to music on her MP3 player, okay? And then full stop, and then we'll probably say friends usually call or send texts about assignments. Okay, you guys?
At 6 I have dinner, then I go back to my laptop. I log on to a social networking site and I talk to my friends.
Okay, so time now at around 6 p.m. she has dinner. The action will be have dinner. So for digital communication, again, laptop, dash. Now this will be either a social networking site or social media, whatever you want to say. Talk to friends. We could also say she talks to friends. Okay?
We talk about university work and other things. At 9, I turn off my laptop and my cell phone.
Okay, so at 9, now you see how this is interesting. She said at 9, so times first, and then she went straight to the digital communication. She didn't say the action yet, so she said time 9, and she turns off her laptop and cell phone, I think, right?
I go to bed and I go to sleep.
Okay, and then the action is she goes to bed, and finally she goes to sleep. Okay, guys, so pretty simple notes, easy stuff. I hope you're able to capture it all. If not, you can always have a listen again and try your best to make more notes. Okay, you guys? Now, let's move on. Or actually, before we do, let's hop into this skills check 1 here. Here we have when talking about time, and we used to talk about time a lot back in the 97 course, so I think you kind of have an idea of how time, or how can you tell time. So we can talk about time in 2 different ways, okay? So we can say either, you know, the 2 numbers, so 7:15 for example, or I can say 7:15, okay? 8:30 or 8:30, 9:40 or 20 to 10, 2:00, 2:45 or 2:45, okay? And different people use different ways. I'm personally a big fan of using this right here. So basically the 2 numbers. I really don't like using 8:30, 20 to 10. I don't really seem to understand it. So you guys get the idea. So I'm a big fan of these right here, but you can always get used to whichever one you feel is more comfortable. Okay? So now you as a student are going to give a talk about your daily life now, okay? You guys remember the same style that we used to write notes in the previous exercise? We're going to do it again, and this time you're going to be practicing your sentences for your talk, okay? So actually I cannot open this, so I can write some stuff for you guys down, but that is fine, okay? So you're gonna rub this, okay? So you don't want this. And start with how you wake up. So around, personally, I'm not going to use it all. I'm just going to say a little bit or give a few examples. So for example, time, I can say I start my day at around 5 or 5:30 a.m., right? Action, wake up, and digital communication, use the alarm on my cell phone. That is correct, okay? And if I want to keep going, I'll probably say at around 6:30, I leave the house and catch bus, okay? And for digital communication, I'm a big fan of music actually, so I cannot sit on a bus or an Uber drive or with an Uber driver and not listen to music. It really soothes the soul, you guys. So listen to music, or for example, check social media, okay? Why not? Or check email, something of that sort. And for time, I could also say one more thing. probably at around 7. Okay, so 7 for me, 7 a.m. Lectures start. So I turn off, or not turn off, I actually handed my cell phone to someone. So hand my cell phone and either record lectures with an MP3 player or simply just do nothing, okay? And yeah, that's kind of the style that I'm going for, you guys, okay? So try to make notes of that sort, and obviously use these notes as a way to practice your talk, okay? Now, let's move on to giving your talk in groups. So obviously different students are going to have different things to say about their daily routine. So I want you, obviously after giving your talk, or even before that, you can put kind of a line between yours and someone else's and write the differences down. Not everything, but just differences, okay? See how other people start their mornings and how their day goes compared to yours, okay? Now let's hop into skills check 2 here. You guys remember giving a talk. So sometimes several sentences in a talk have the same basic pattern. Okay, what does he mean here? So let's actually look at some examples. We have I wake up at 7, I get up at 7:15, I have breakfast at 7:30, and I leave home at 8. Okay, so what he wants to say is that there's no fixed way to say that I wake up at 7. I could say it at a different style. I could say at 7 I wake up. You see how I switched it? We talked about this before in a couple units actually before this one. Even in the 97 course. Instead of saying I wake up at 7, I can say at 7 I wake up. Okay? I get up at 7:15, I can say at 7:15 I get up. You guys see? I have breakfast at 7:30. Okay, so here he changed the style of saying the time. So instead of saying I have breakfast at 7:30, I say I have breakfast at 7:30. Both are correct, by the way, and you can use whichever one feels more comfortable to you and your style. Okay, I'm just letting you know that there are different ways for writing the same meaning, basically. So, or I can also say at 7:30 I have breakfast. That is also correct. And finally, I leave home at 8. Or I can also say I leave home half an hour later. So do the math, half an hour later is 8, okay? Pretty simple stuff. So make sure you switch it up, okay? So don't write the same style over and over and over again. Like I said, you don't, in English, especially in writing and giving talks, and so basically speaking or writing, you don't want to sound too repetitive, right? Because it can really throw people off. So try your best to switch it up. Be creative, okay? Pretty simple stuff, you guys. This was the speaking section, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, you guys, now let's move on to lesson 3, vocabulary and pronunciation. And here we also have 8 pictures, okay? And these are things, obviously, that we do in our daily lives on a daily basis. Okay, so exercise A, look at the photographs above. They show parts of the morning routine for many people, okay? So let's actually open this here. We can get a better view. Okay, so looking at the photographs below, okay, name each activity and choose a verb from the left box and a phrase from the right. Okay, and you can use one verb twice. Okay, so here we have verbs, okay, and we can use each verb twice, and then we have obviously the continuation for the sentence. So, and we're gonna have, before we listen, let's just take a look at the pictures basically. So here we have, what do you guys think this is? Obviously taking a shower or having a shower. This is obviously brushing your teeth, having a shave, things of that nature, okay? Things you basically do, or all of us do in our daily lives. So number 1, we can say, here we have brush, clean, get, have, lock, pack, put on. So it makes sense to use have. So we'll say have, and then we'll say a shower. So have a shower. Okay, you guys? Now, number 2 is obviously brushing your teeth. Or I can say clean my teeth, but I'll just use brush. I mean, I have brush and I can use it twice, so I'll say brush my teeth. Okay? Number 3, we have, obviously this is a razor, so that means we're going to be shaving. So have, so again use the word have a shave. Okay? Number 4, this is really obvious, makeup, so we'll say put on my makeup. Do we have put on? Yes, we do. So put on my makeup. So put on my makeup. Okay? Then we have number 5, obviously I'm pretty sure this is getting dressed, picking your clothes out. So do we have get? Yes, we do, get and dressed. So number 5, get dressed. And number 6, this is really straightforward. Again, brush. Do we have brush? Yes, we're going to use it twice. Brush my hair. Because this is a comb, you guys, okay? So brush my hair. Alright? Then we have number 7, packing your bag. Do we have pack? Yes, we do. Pack my bag. So pack your or my pack my bag. Alright? And finally, we have number 8. Do we have the door here? Yes, we do, the door. And do we have lock? Yes, we do. So lock the door. Obviously, just closing the door, unlocking it. So lock the door. Okay, pretty simple stuff. So usual things that we usually do in our daily routine are have a shower, brush my teeth, have a shave, put on my makeup, get dressed, brush my hair, pack my bag, and finally lock the door. Okay? Now let's move on. Oh, and actually before we do, let's actually listen and check our answers.
24. Lesson 3. Vocabulary and Pronunciation. Exercise A2. Listen and check your answers.
Have a shower. Clean my teeth.
Okay, so I was wrong about the second one. It's not brush your teeth. Obviously, it is correct, or brush my teeth. But since she said clean my teeth, we're going to use that instead. So here we'll say clean my teeth. Just want to let you guys know that brush your teeth is also correct.
Have a shave. Put on my makeup. Get dressed. Brush my hair. Pack my bag. Lock the door.
Alright, seems we got, all of them correct except that number 2. So now let's go to exercise number 3, or 8A3. What is the opposite of these actions? Let me actually open this here. Okay, so now we want the exact opposite of these sentences or words. So get dressed, pack my bag, lock the door, and put on makeup. Well, what do I say if I want to get, if I want to say the opposite of get dressed? Any volunteers? That's correct. We'll say get undressed. Okay? This right here, these two words before these two letters are called prefixes. Okay? And I'm sure we'll talk about this more in the future, but for now, just you should try your best to memorize these. So these are called prefixes, and they can change the whole meaning of a word, by the way. Okay? So get dressed, get undressed. And why did I write dresses? Get undressed. Okay? Number 2, pack my bag. Look at this. I'm gonna say unpack my bag. Okay? So unpack my bag is the opposite of pack my bag. Let me actually put this in capital. Get undressed. Okay? And unpack my bag. Okay? Pretty simple stuff, you guys. And then we have lock the door. What are we going to say? That's correct. I'm going to say unlock the door. Okay? So lock the door. Opposite of that will be unlock the door. Put on makeup. What are we going to say? That's correct. We're going to say take off makeup. Okay? So get dressed, get undressed, pack my bag, unpack my bag, lock the door, unlock the door, put on makeup, and take off makeup. Alright? Now let's move on. Here we have working in pairs. Do you do all the actions in the photographs every morning? And my answer to that is obviously yes. In what order do you do the actions in? So basically different order basically for everybody. So tell your partner. Okay, so he gave us an example here. First, I clean my teeth, then I have a shower. Okay, so let's actually go again to the pictures. So for me personally, obviously everyone's going to be different, but for me personally, first I brush my teeth. Okay, first thing I do. I don't shave daily, so I'll probably skip that. So I'll say, firstly I brush my teeth, then I have a shower, right? Then I get dressed, then I comb my hair or brush my hair, then I pack my bag, and finally I leave or lock the door. Okay? Obviously you're gonna have, depending on your routine and what do you do every morning, your answer will be different than mine. So now let's move on. Here we have exercise C. Look at the conversation. Okay, so we're gonna listen to a conversation right now between a guy and a girl. Let's have a listen here.
26. Exercise C1. Listen.
When do you usually wake up?
At 6:30.
Do you get up immediately?
No, I get up at about 7:15.
What do you usually have for breakfast?
I always have coffee and 2 pieces of toast.
How do you get to school?
Sometimes I walk, and sometimes I go by car.
What time do you have lunch?
At 1:15.
Do you ever sleep in the afternoon?
No, I don't. I never sleep in the afternoon.
Okay, pretty simple conversation. Now we're gonna listen to it one more time, and I know you guys noticed they were talking about the time, and we talked very briefly before about telling the time, but I'll go into more detail after we finish this lesson. But for now, just have a listen and try, to gain as much information as you can, because you're gonna be in the same situation. Okay, so let's have a listen one more time.
26. Listen.
When do you usually wake up?
At 6:30.
Do you get up immediately?
No, I get up at about 7:15.
What do you usually have for breakfast?
I always have coffee and 2 pieces of toast.
How do you get to school?
Sometimes I walk, and sometimes I go by car.
What time do you have lunch?
At 1:15.
Do you ever sleep in the afternoon?
No, I don't. I never sleep in the afternoon.
Alright, now I'd like for you guys to just pause the video for now and actually give very similar questions and give true information based on what you do in the morning. So answers for these questions should be different from what the guy just said. So for example, what do you eat in the morning? Obviously you're not going to be eating coffee and 2 pieces of toast, okay, or 2 slices of toast. So just give true information about yourself, and then let's move on. So what do we have? Oh, okay, so now we have something called frequency adverbs, and let me give you a brief introduction to what frequency adverbs are exactly. So when I say 100%, I'm 100% sure that something has happened, or I always do something. So I'll use this right here, a word called always. Okay? And why is that? When I say always, I am 100% sure about what I'm talking about or what I'm doing or what someone's doing. So for example, like that fellow guy said, he said, I always have coffee and 2 slices of bread in the morning. That means that 100% every single day he does this. Okay? So always means 100%. Okay? Now let's go a little bit lower. We have 75 to 90%. We use the word usually. Okay? And you actually hear me saying this a lot as well too. Okay? So usually and always. The difference is the percentage basically. So 75 to 90%, if I'm not too sure, so 75 to 90, I mean, I'm quite sure, but there's that sprinkle of doubt, I say usually. So for example, I usually go to school by bus. That means 75 to 90% of the time, I go to school by bus. However, sometimes there may be complications. Sometimes I may go by walking or I may go by car. It depends, okay? But for the most part, I go by bus. That's when you use usually, you guys. Now let's go even lower. Now we're in the 60 to 75% range. We use a word called often or often, whatever you want to pronounce it. Both are correct. So using the word often, when I'm in that range of 60 to 75%. So for example, I can say, I often have breakfast before I get to school. So it's not always that I do it. So I didn't say I always have breakfast before going to school because I'm not too sure. It depends on the day. Maybe someday I'm in a rush, for example. I don't have time to make my own breakfast. And other days, I have more time. So often is the word we use when you're in the 60 to 75% range. Okay? Now let's go even lower and scoop down to the 20 to 30% range. Obviously, these numbers, you guys, they're based just purely for speculation or argument's sake. You should not focus on these. You should focus on the word itself and when to use it properly. So we use a word called sometimes. I'm sure you guys are familiar with all these words. So sometimes is when you're really not too sure. So sometimes I go to school by bus and sometimes I go to school by car. Okay? That means that it's kind of a 50-50 situation here. I'm not too sure what do I do. So I either go by bus on certain days and or I go by car on other days. Okay? And this is where I use sometimes. And finally, you guys know this, 0% is obviously the word never. So if I say, I never have coffee in the morning, that means that no matter what happens, I do not drink coffee in the morning. Okay? I never sleep, like that guy said. I never sleep in the afternoon. That means that no matter what happens, he does not sleep in the afternoon. Okay? And these are called frequency adverbs. So we have always, 100%, 75 to 90%, we use the word usually, 60 to 75%, often, that meh word, and then 20 to 30% is sometimes, and finally 0% is never. Okay, you guys? I hope you understood what it means. Now let's move on. Here we have, okay, before we do that, let's actually check out the skills check here. Here we have talking about regular events. So things that, people do on a daily to a weekly basis. Okay? We often talk about regular events with frequency adverbs. Okay? So we use frequency adverbs when we talk about regular events. Okay, so notice he's even using frequency adverbs here. You see this word? Often. And when we talked about often, what did we say? It's not always, so it's not 100%. And if you go upstairs or upwards here, usually is 75 to 90, and often is at 60 to 75%. So 60 or to 75% probability, we use often to talk about regular events. You see what I'm talking about here? Notice the position of the adverbs with be and with other verbs. Now let's have some examples. So check this out. I am always the word late. So I'm always late means I'm 100% always late. Okay? He or she is usually first or often first. Usually obviously means for the most part he's usually first, and or she or he is often angry. So about 60 to 75% of the time he's angry. Okay? So he is often angry. We are sometimes tired. So, depending on the time, 20 to 30% probability we're sometimes just tired, man, okay? They are never happy. That means they're always in a pessimistic mood. They are never happy. These people don't know what happiness is. Okay, you guys? Now we have other examples. I always come late. Again, he usually comes first. She often gets angry. We sometimes feel tired. They never look happy. Alright, now how do I use frequency adverbs when asking questions about regular events? Great question, you guys. We can ask about regular events with usually, ever, and often. So when we're asking about regular events, not stating, but asking, we use three words: usually, ever, and often. Okay? So let's have some examples here. I can say, when do you usually get up? Or I can also say, when do you usually go to bed? Okay? Do you ever sleep in the afternoon? And by saying ever, I mean like, do you do it or not? Do you ever sleep in the afternoon? And one more, I can say, how often do you go to bed late? Okay, so how many times do you do it? Because I know you go to bed late, but how often do you go to bed late? And obviously this will depend greatly on the conversation. Okay? How often do you wake up early, for example? Okay? So you don't always wake up early, but how often do you do it? Alright, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Now let's move on to exercise F here. Or actually, before that, let's go to exercise E. There is one mistake in each sentence or question below. Find the mistake and correct it, then read the skills check. Okay, so we already know what the skills check is. Now let's check the mistakes. Here we have, okay, I am happy always. And you guys can check. It's wrong. We're going to use the frequency adverb in the middle. So I am. Can I change this? Okay, I can. So we're going to take this out. I am always. I'll go in the middle here. I am always happy. Okay? Save. I am always happy. Then we have number 2. Never he goes to the sports center. Nope. We're going to use never as the second word. So get rid of never. Okay? You guys know never means 0%. So he never goes to the sports center. Save. He never goes to the sports center. She sometimes is kind. Nope. I can say, let me open this up. I can use two styles here, or two patterns. I can say she's sometimes kind, okay? Not is kind, so she's sometimes kind, or she's kind sometimes. So what we're gonna do is get rid of this as is right here, okay? And add it right here as an apostrophe. So she's sometimes kind, okay? 4. They ask often lots of questions. Nope, we're gonna exchange places with ask to often. So delete this. They often ask lots of questions. Number 5, we're usually having dinner at 8 p.m. What here, we don't add ing, guys, okay? So we usually have, just have, not having. We usually have dinner at 8 p.m. Okay? How do you often get to university? How do you, not often, how do you usually, you guys? Usually, you guys remember we talked about usually having the higher probability percentage, okay? So how do you often, how do you usually is a better question. So how do you usually get to university? Okay, let's save this right here. Number 7, do you eat ever in a restaurant? And how I'm going to say that is, actually, I'm going to exchange places. So do you ever eat in a restaurant? Okay, this is a question, you guys, okay? That's why I used ever. So do you ever eat in a restaurant? Number 8, when often do you have takeaway food? And actually, what we should say is not when, but how. So the difference here is actually the question word. Okay, so instead of using when, we're gonna say how. So how often do you have takeaway food? So the problem here was not actually the frequency adverb, but the question word. Okay, you guys. So I'm always happy. He never goes to the sports center. She's sometimes kind. They often ask lots of questions. We usually have dinner at 8 p.m. How do you usually get to university? Do you ever eat in a restaurant? And how often do you have takeaway food? Okay, pretty simple stuff. We already read the skills check. Now let's move on to exercise F. Here we have study the words in the columns and match the words to make time and frequency phrases. Okay, so let's actually open this up right here. So we're going to use these words, okay, to make time and frequency phrases. So for example, every month, every week, most weeks, 3 Fridays, things of that nature. So you'll understand once we start. So A, or number 1, we have every. So you guys know when we say every, we're talking about day. So every day, not days. So every day. B is most. Most days, this one's actually correct. So every day, most days. C, at. Okay, so when I say at the weekend. Okay, it's actually correct as well. So C, at the weekend. D, on. On Fridays. When I say on, I'm going to say on Fridays or on Sundays, on Saturdays. Okay? I can't say on times a week. Alright? So on Fridays, on Sundays, on Tuesdays, etc. And here we have E, in. So what am I going to use in with? In the evening. Alright? So in, I can say in day. In the evening. That's how we use it when we're using it as a phrase. F, obviously twice a week. I can't say twice times a week. That would sound wrong. So twice a week, okay? And finally, G, three times a week. All right, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Now, let's move on. What do we have? Do we have anything else? Oh, we have working in pairs. So you want to talk about your routine, but I want you guys to now use frequency adverbs, okay? And you can obviously use these exercises here to your advantage, and if you have any confusion, you can always go back to the skills check. But the point here is to kind of have better confidence when talking about your routine, okay? So now, before I forget, let me open something for you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about time. So you guys remember when I said that, oh, not this one. Let me open this. Time telling, okay? So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about time. We talked about time before, but now I want to get into a little bit more detail, okay? So you guys can effectively tell the time and say the time as well and not be confused when you hear it. So let's start with time. So time is basically a specific number of minutes, seconds, days, weeks, months, years, decades, and centuries, okay? This is time as a whole. So we have a millennium, a moment, second, minute, hour, day, week, month, year, decade, and century. Okay, so all of these can be used as time. Alright, now let's go forward. So now let's get a little bit more specific. So obviously when we're talking about time for us as human beings, we're talking about the time in one day, okay? And it's divided into two parts, okay? So we have the morning, obviously, which is from 12 a.m., okay, to 12 p.m. or 11 a.m., okay? And then after that, we have p.m., which starts from 12 p.m. to 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay? So basically, pure opposites. So morning is called a.m., and afternoon / evening is called p.m. Okay? Now, what are some time-telling devices that we as humans use to tell the time? Because we're not, cavemen that we tell the time by looking at the sun anymore. At least I don't do that. I don't know about you guys. So we use something called a watch, a clock, and an alarm clock. And I'd like to add one. It's called a digital watch or a digital clock, okay? So basically a watch is something that you wear on your wrist, okay? A digital watch is also a watch that you wear on your wrist. However, instead of displaying the two hands, you guys know the two clock hands, we use the time, actual numbers. So for example, if I want to say it's 7:15, okay? It's going to be written down as 7, 2 points, 15, okay? Now, we also have a clock that you can put on your wall, wherever you are. And finally, we have an alarm clock. An alarm clock is a clock, but it kind of makes this ringing noise to wake you up when you're sleeping, or basically tells you that you have to be doing something at this time, okay? And that's why it's called an alarm clock, to wake you up, alarm you to get up and start going to work or whatever you want to do when you wake up. All right? Pretty simple stuff. Now, let's move on. Okay, so when we're talking about a clock or a watch, this is how a clock moves, or how the hands move. And I cannot use my... Oh, here we go. Can you use this? Clockwise is going like this, okay? So going right in a circle, like this. Okay, you guys? This, if I want to go the opposite way, is called anti-clockwise. But for now, let's not focus on that. For now, let's focus on clockwise, okay? So going like this is called clockwise, you guys. This is how a watch moves, okay? Now, what do we have? Okay. Now, we'll get a little bit more specific now. How do you tell the time? Okay. So there are two ways. There is the way that a lot of people use, and there is another way that also a lot of people use, but obviously you got to be prepared for both, because if you ask, for the time and someone uses either one, you should be prepared, okay, and not have to ask more questions. So this way right here, we use the minute first. So we're used to saying 7:15, 8:18, okay? So we use the hour first, but here we use minute first. So minute, and we either say past or after hour, okay? So for example, let's say it's 7:15. Again, let's go with this example. It's pretty simple. I can say it's 15 past 7. And what do I mean by 15 past 7? I mean it's 15 minutes after 7 o'clock. It's half past 8. What do I mean by half past 8? It's half an hour after 8 o'clock, so that means it's 8:30. Okay, you guys? So if I say the time is maybe 7:10, what do you guys think I should say? That's correct. I'm going to say it's 10 past 7, or 10 after 7. Okay, you guys? This is how we do it. Now, let's move on. Okay. So, again, how to tell the time. We say a minute to the hour. For example, it's 15 to 5. What does 15 to 5 mean? It means that there are 15 minutes remaining until it becomes 5. Okay? But when 15 minutes are remaining, we say the word quarter, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, so for example, let's say there are like around 25 minutes left, okay? So I'll say it's 25 to 6, for example. And that means the time is actually 5:35, okay? So 25 to 6 means the time actually is 5:35. Okay, you guys? Pretty easy stuff. Now let's move on. Okay, so using these two words here, so when we're talking about 15 minutes, okay, so whether whether to or before, we use the word quarter, okay, with 15 minutes, and obviously half, because 30 minutes, 30 is half of 60, and an hour has 60 minutes, so we use half as a word for 30 minutes, okay? Now let's actually move. Here we actually have an exercise, okay? And I want you guys to try and tell the time before I do. Both ways, okay? So the traditional way that we like say the time, so hour, then minute. But before that, I actually want you guys to say the way that I just showed you how to do it. So we use the minutes first, and then the time, okay? So what do you guys see here? That's correct. You guys see 10, okay? So we're gonna say 10 to 4, okay? But what is the time when we say it our way, or my way at least? It's obviously 4:50. Can I use my cursor? Okay, here we go. So 4:50, okay? But 4:50, 10 to 4, okay, you guys? Number 2, we're gonna have this is 11, okay? So 11. Oh, it's not 11. It's actually not 11. It's 10. Can I use this, please? So 10. So it's 20 minutes to 11. So I'll say 20 to 11. But what's the actual time? The actual time is 10:40, you guys. So 20 minutes until it becomes 11. So hence why I said 20 to 11, okay? It takes a little bit getting used to, but you get the hang of it. So number 3, we have, what's the time here? So the time is actually 3. Okay, it's 3:25, okay? Now let's say it the way that I just showed you guys. It's 25 past 3. So it's 25 minutes after 3. Let's actually go back and rewind that for a second. Actually, here we go. Past means after. So hence why I said, 25 past 3, you guys. Okay? So 3:25, 25 past 3. Now let's go to number 4 here. Now, number 4 is 9:30. Okay? So I can say it's half past 9. Hence, you guys know I did not say 30. We remember when I said we use half? Use half with 30 minutes, okay? So I'm going to say half past 9, so half an hour past 9, so 9:30, okay? And then we have 5, number 5 here. It's, this is 8, so 8, and this is 15. So 8:15, we can say quarter past 8. What that means is 15 minutes after 8, you guys, okay? So 8:15, quarter past 8. And finally, we have 6. It's 6:05, okay? So it's 6:05. So what we're going to say is it's 5 past 6. What I mean by that is it's 5 minutes past 6 o'clock. Okay, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Let's move on. Okay. So here we have writing the times, and we're gonna write these both the way I just showed you and the normal way. They're both normal. I'm just used to the other one, but hey. So 125 is obviously gonna be 25. So 25. Guys, remember we always start with the minutes. So 25 past 1. Remember this? Half. So how are we gonna say this? That's correct. Half past 3, or 3:30, right? C, 6:15, or it's quarter past 6, okay? So quarter because obviously 15 minutes. Okay, so quarter past 6, after 6. All right, and then we have D, or not D, actually, yes, D. We're gonna have 10 past 5, 10 minutes after 5. So 10 past 5 or 5:10. And then we have E. E is simply 11 or 11 o'clock. Then we have F. F is 5:45 or 5:45, okay? We can say it's 5:45. And the reason for that is obviously 15 minutes remaining. I cannot say, you guys, be careful here. If the minutes are too much, I can't just say with anything, 45 past 5. No, we use common sense here because it's actually, the minutes are getting too long now. So we're going to go to the closer option, which is obviously quarter to 6, okay? Or 5:45. Finally, we have G, 9:35, or we could say 25 to 10. So 35, also a lot of time, so we'll just use the closer one. So 25 to 10, 25 minutes to 10 o'clock. And finally, we have H is 3:55. I cannot say here, you guys. This is an absolute no-no. Again, I cannot say 55 past 3. No, just go with the closer one. So 5 to 4. 5 until it becomes 4 o'clock. So 5 to 4 or 3:55. Okay? Pretty easy stuff, you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Alright, you guys, so now we have lesson 4 reading, and we have 4 pictures here, and can you guys tell me what are these pictures talking about? We know that every picture tells a story, but what do these pictures exactly mean? So, yes, that's correct. These are things that we used to do before the internet existed. So, for example, we used to open up books to do research. I mean, we still do that, but all of this is now on the internet. I'm guessing these are letters, an old phone that people used to have handicapped in their home. You couldn't take it with you anywhere, basically. And people just talking face to face. The good old face to face. People having an actual social life. Now, let's actually move on to exercise A. You're going to read the opposite text. Okay, so this one right here. What should you do before you read the text? Okay, now let's read the skills check so we can actually understand what should we do when preparing to read a text. Okay, so obviously before you read a text, always look at any illustrations. And what are illustrations? Funny you ask. An illustration is a declaration, interpretation, or visual explanation of a text. What that means is basically, you guys remember when you were kids and you would take a book and just look at the pictures and not read anything because you were too young to understand what it means? That's what an illustration basically is. So actually, if we go right here, we see 2 illustrations, but they don't mean much here. So depending on what you're reading, an illustration could have either significant importance or really not that important at all. So in this case, I can kind of understand that it talks about the internet, but that's about it, nothing else. Okay? So look at any illustrations, read the title. Okay, so this is the title right here. Read the title, and obviously, most of the times the title is going to be something catchy to grab the reader's attention. Okay? And after that, read the introduction or first paragraph. So you can read just the introduction or the first paragraph and stop. Okay? Stop and just have a couple seconds of just thinking. What information will be in the text? So based on what I just read of the internet, is it good or bad? And maybe the introduction as well. What is he going to talk about? So I know he's going to be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the internet. That's what I know for a fact. Okay? And then you move on a little bit. So here we have read any section headings, and again, stop. Okay? So here we have a section heading, okay? Stop and think again. What information will be in this paragraph that I'm about to read? Okay? So for example, research. Okay, so I know that for research, I know he's going to talk about probably since we're talking about advantages and disadvantages of the internet, he's probably going to talk about what we did as humans before the internet came out and things of that nature, okay? What is this called, you ask? This is called prediction. And what does prediction mean? Prediction means predicting, how something's going to happen, or if something's going to happen. Like, let's say, for example, you're not too sure if you're going to get, for example, your paycheck next week, right? So you say, I might get it, I might not, but I think I'll get it. Maybe your predictions are right, maybe you're wrong, but it's a prediction nonetheless, okay? So maybe they're right in terms of the information in the text, maybe you're wrong. But you gotta understand that these predictions, when reading, will help you understand the rest of the text. Obviously, when reading just for the fun of it, it might not be that useful, but when reading for specifically either trying to find information for a comprehension, or for a research, for example, or for just simply research, these predictions can and will help you. Okay? Now let's see, what do we have here? Exercise B, prepare to read the opposite text. Here we have it. Read the title and the first paragraph. What information will be in the text? Okay. So it seems that now we're gonna have a simple comprehension here in these next exercises. So what I want you guys to do is pause the video right now and apply what I just told you in terms of preparing to read. Okay? And then you're gonna unpause this video and I'll read the whole thing right now. So I'll read introduction. I'm not gonna be stopping, okay? So straight up, I'm gonna read all of this and then we'll do the comprehension together. Okay? So here we go. The internet. Is it good or bad? The internet is now an important part of our lives. But is the internet a good thing or a bad thing? This week, we look at the good side of the internet. We consider 3 areas. Firstly, we look at the internet and research. Secondly, we think about the internet and communication. Finally, we consider the internet and social life. Research. Before the internet, people used their own books to do research, or they went to a library to borrow them. With reference books, you had to sit in the library. You made notes from the books. You could not take the books home. Nowadays, you can sit at home or you can sit in the resource center at school. You can find information on the internet. Before the internet, you looked up subjects in an index. Then, you asked the librarian for the book. Nowadays, you just type a question or some words into the search box of a website such as Google or Yahoo. Before the internet, you could only look at a small number of books for research. Nowadays, sites like Google search hundreds of thousands of websites. They often give you hundreds of results. Communication. Before the internet, you wrote letters or you telephoned people. Letters took a long time. Telephones were in people's houses. Sometimes the person was not at home. Telephone calls were expensive. Nowadays, you just send an email or write an instant message on MSN. The message arrives in seconds. It goes to the person, not the person's home. It does not cost anything at all. You can even see each other if you have webcams. Social life. Before the internet, it was difficult to find people with similar interests. People joined clubs or they bought specialist magazines. Nowadays, there are many websites, such as Facebook. Just create your own profile. People with the same interests will contact you. Next week, the bad side of the internet. Alright, you guys, so that was the reading part. Now let's hop into the questions here. So we just read it. Let me open this right here. Give it a second. Okay, so read the title and the first paragraph. We already read all of it. What information will be in the text? So is it how to use the internet, the history of the internet, bad things about the internet, or good things about the internet? That's correct. It's good things about the internet. Okay? Okay, so reading the sections, we obviously had 3 sections. What was they, or what were they? We had research, communication, and social life. Okay, so let me actually open this here. Okay, which section will contain each of the words below? So we have research, communication, or what was that? It was social life. Oh, okay. So obviously, clubs will be SL, stands for social life. Email will be C, communication. C, Facebook will be obviously social life, you guys. Hence the name literally says social media on these websites, so social life. D, we have Google, so Google obviously research, great research tool. Like, people cannot live without Google nowadays. E, information. Information is also research. Instant message is probably a form of communication. Library is obviously research. And finally, telephones. What are telephones? Obviously a form of communication. Okay, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Easy. Now let's move on. Okay? Read. Okay, so I already read that. Before the internet, how did people... Okay, so now this is actually going to be really helpful. So you read the question and then you have to go back and find the answer. So before the internet, how did people do research? Okay, so let's go back to the research section here. So people used their own books to do research, or they went to a library to borrow them. With reference books, you had to sit in the library and you made notes from the books. That's how it was done. Okay? B, communicate with people in another town or another country. So obviously communication. You wrote letters or you telephoned people. Letters took a long time and telephones were in people's houses. And we could skip this and we could say telephone calls were expensive, and that's it. Okay? So you wrote letters or you telephoned people. I think that's a good enough answer. Okay? Meet people with similar interests. So obviously social life. So it was difficult. People either joined clubs or they bought specialist magazines. That's an answer as well. How can you do the things above now? Now he wants the positivity of the internet. So how can you do the things above now? Now, nowadays, you can sit at home or you can sit in the resource center at school. You can find information on the internet. Okay? What else? Communicate with people. How do we do these now? We could probably say you just send an email or write an instant message on MSN. The message arrives in seconds. You can even see each other if you have webcams. Okay, you guys? Meet people with similar interests. And I can just, obviously getting an answer from here, I can say there are many websites such as Facebook. Just create your own profile and people with the same interests will contact you. Okay? Pretty simple stuff. Now let's go to exercise D. Match each word or phrase from the text with a definition on the right. Okay, so he basically wants a definition for each of these words. So 1, we have reference book. Okay, and what does a reference book mean, you guys? It means a book with factual information. Okay? Number 2 is a librarian. And what is a librarian? She is a person in charge or working in a library. Okay? Number 3, expensive means a lot of money. 4, webcam. Webcam is obviously a camera on a laptop or PC. 5 is create, and create means make something for the first time. Okay? And finally, 6 is a profile, and profile is information about a person. So reference book, book with factual information. Librarian, person working in a library. 3, expensive, a lot of money. Webcam, camera on a laptop or PC. create, make for the first time, profile information about a person. Okay, you guys? Pretty easy stuff. Easy reading section. Now let's move on to writing. Alright, you guys, now moving on to lesson 5, writing and grammar here. Here we have exercise A. Study the extract. What do the highlighted words have in common? And actually, we're going to read skills check 1 first so we can understand what he's talking about. So here we have the noun phrase. We sometimes add extra information before the main noun in a noun phrase. And these extra information, or the extra information, is usually either another noun, an adjective, or a quantity. Okay? So we sometimes add, again one more time, extra information before the noun, or the main noun, sorry, in a noun phrase. Okay? And it's either a noun, an adjective, or a quantity. So for example, here we have the main noun, and here we have the extra information. So the life, the daily life, their phones, their cell phones, students, most students. Okay? And what he wants you to know is that you always try to find the main noun in a noun phrase. Then, and only then, look at the extra information before the noun. Okay, so the daily life. We have daily, their phones, their cell phones. So cell. Students, most students, and obviously most. Okay. So what do the highlighted words have in common? Okay, so the important part of our lives, part is the highlighted one, the search box, the resource center, a small number of books, and finally, an instant message. Okay, so what I get from these is that all of these are the main nouns. That's what they have in common, is that they are all the main nouns, okay? And find the extra information in each extract before the main noun, okay? So not after the noun, but before. So obviously, an important, the search, resource, a small number, and instant, okay? These are the extra information for the main noun, okay? Find the extra information in each extract after the main noun, and actually, let's read skills check 2, basically the exact opposite. So instead of adding extra information before the main noun, now we can also add extra information after the main noun. So we sometimes add extra information after the main noun in a noun phrase. The extra information often follows a preposition. Okay? So when we add extra information, there's always, or not always, usually a preposition. Okay? So let's have some examples here. So main noun and extra information after the main noun. So the life of of students. 1,000 students at university. More students in the survey. Always find the main noun in a noun phrase and then look at the extra information before or after the noun. Okay, so basically the exact same advice, but now check before and after the main noun as well. Okay, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Now let's go back. Find the extra information in each extract after the main noun. So here we have after the noun, of our lives, preposition, of a website, at school, for research, and on MSN. Okay? Now let's go actually to exercise B here. Give it a second to load. Okay, so choose a word or phrase from the box to go in front of each noun below. Write the noun phrases. Okay, so we're actually gonna be choosing words to go with the noun, and we're gonna be writing them down as noun phrases. Okay, so we have a school, a primary school. Okay, so information before the main noun. Now, year or years, I could say something along the lines of 7 years. I got the 7 from right here. The facts, I can say the important facts. Okay? A subject, I can probably say a compulsory. By the way, compulsory means a must. Okay, so you must take it. So compulsory subject, or I should say a compulsory subject. Okay, a language. What can I use with language? Oh, here we go. Foreign. So I can say a foreign language. Okay. Number 6, the question. The real question. Okay, so the real question. Okay, you guys. Number 7, the city. What can I use the city? What do I have? Biggest. I can say the biggest city. All right, and then we have 8. We have results. We can say thousands of results. So thousands of results. And we have number 9, communication. Oh, this one fits the topic just right. Digital communication. Okay, digital communication. And finally, we have message. And obviously, talking about our topic here, we can say instant message. Instant, not this. Instant. I can't write it. Instant message. Okay? Pretty simple stuff, you guys. Now, let's move on. Okay? Here we have make noun phrases from the words in each box. Okay, so now we're going to be making noun phrases from the words, obviously, in these boxes. So we're going to combine them together. Okay? So now, this is going to be extra information after the main noun, you guys. This one was before the main noun, and this one was after the main noun. Okay? I cannot write these down, so we'll just have to do this orally. So, obviously, you can do, there are different patterns, so you could use, obviously, different noun phrases. So, I'll say my possible answers. You could find other ones or copy mine, whatever, okay? So, I can probably say a book about psychology, okay? I could also say a country in Asia, okay? A part, I could say a part of the city. A website on the internet. Where is the internet? On the internet. I swear I saw it here. I was like, where is it? And then we have a website on the internet. Yep. An interest. What do we have for an interest? An interest. I can say an interest in primary schools, or even better, an interest in geography. Children. What can I use with, oh, here we go. Children in primary schools. Now this one fits a lot better. Students. What can I use with students? Students at university. Okay? Students at university. Teachers, I can also say teachers at university, by the way. However, I could say teachers of history. Okay? That looks better as well. So teachers of history. The area, mathematics, the area of a triangle. You know, I can also say the area of Brazil, okay? But the area of a triangle looks better. So the population of Brazil, this one fits a lot better. So the population of Brazil, you guys, okay? Now let's move on to exercise D here. We have look at all the tables and complete the tables with one word in each space. Okay, so let's take a look at the first table here. What do you guys see? Obviously, we have a pronoun, we have a verb, verb to be, and an adjective. So what would I say here in this verb section? Excuse me. So I'll probably use am with I, so I am late, or I am late. Okay? You, we always use are with you guys, so you are tired. Okay? He is ill. She is, if we want to add an adjective ourselves, we can probably say friendly, for example. Okay? She is happy. She is ill, for example. Again, like the he. They are, I can probably say rude. They are angry. Okay? These are all adjectives. Now, let's take a look at exercise E here. This is actually a really interesting exercise. We have look at tables 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's take a look at these 3 tables right here. Where do you put the frequency adverbs below? Okay, so we have our frequency adverbs, so always, usually, often, and never. And in which position do we use these frequency adverbs? So we have position 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes 5. So let's take a look at these. We have position 1, as you can see here as well, here as well. 2, 2, 3, and you always got to take note of the position and what's after and before the position. So in table 1, for example, we have in position 2, we have a pronoun before it and a verb or verb to be after it. Okay? So these are gonna greatly impact your answer. So I just want to let you guys know, so frequency adverbs generally they go in position 3. So right here, go in position 3 with a verb to be, and they go in position 2 with other verbs. So when I'm talking about verb to be, so table number 1 here, we're going to use these frequency verbs on position number 3. Okay? So I can say I am always late. I am usually late. You are never tired. Okay, if I want to compliment someone, for example. Okay? However, when you when using other or different types of verbs, these frequency adverbs switch to the second position. Okay? So when using verb to be, frequency adverbs are in the third place or third position, and when using other forms of verbs, it's on the second place. Okay, guys? Pretty simple stuff. Now, the word sometimes here. Which position does sometimes go in? Now, this is actually a really interesting frequency adverb. It can go in positions 1, 3, and 4, and 5 as well. Okay? With and only with verb to be. Okay? And so I'll actually I'll elaborate a little bit more in a second, but for now let's focus on verb to be. So if I want to say sometimes, I can use it with position number 1, number 3, number 4, and if there's a position number 5, I can use it there as well. Okay? Depending on the situation. I cannot, however, use it on position number 2 when there is a verb to be. So I cannot, for example, say, I sometimes am late. No, that's wrong. Okay? I can, however, say, I am sometimes late. I'm sometimes tired. Okay? So this is how we do it. But now we can use it with, now we know the difference now between verb to be and normal verbs. Now how do we use sometimes with other verbs? It's really similar. So we can use it in position number 1, or not here, 1, 2. So we couldn't use it in position number 2 when talking about verb to be. Now we can with other verbs. So we can use it with other verbs on position 1, 2, 4, and 5. So the only difference between verb to be and normal verbs when using the frequency adverb sometimes is the switch in positions between 2 and 3. Okay, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. I hope you get the idea. Now, let's move on. So here we have exercise F. There is one mistake in each of these frequency phrases. Find it and correct it. Okay, so we have some frequency phrases. Let me actually open this up here. There is one okay, so here we have every days. What do you guys think the problem is? That's correct. Days is not the right word here. So I use every, when I'm talking about every, I use a singular word. So I'm going to get rid of that S right here, and this is correct. Every day. Okay? Now, the exact opposite, most. When I say most, I'm going to use a plural right after. So, most days. Okay? Number 3, one time a week. Okay? One time a week, I don't say one time a week because it's a fixed phrase. So what I should say is once. Okay, you guys? Because it's just a fixed phrase, you know, talking about doing something once. Okay? So once. 4, twice a week. Okay? It's actually twice a week, but I'm going to add an A here. So twice a week. Because also it's a fixed phrase, you guys. And finally, we have number 5, 3 times a week. And the problem here is also, when I'm saying 3, I want a plural right after, not just a singular. So time will be times, okay? 3 times a week, okay? So now these are correct. Every day, most days, once, twice a week, 3 times a week, okay? Pretty simple stuff, you guys. Alright, so that's about it for this page right here. Now, let's move on. And what do we have here? Okay, so let's actually hop into this skills check first. Silent letters. And we've had our fair share of silent letters, you guys. I mean, you guys know in the English language, many words have silent letters. Like all the time, you're gonna bump through them and you're gonna have to memorize them as well. It's just part of learning English. And trust me, it gets a lot easier over time. So, many English words have silent letters. You must write these letters, however, do not pronounce them. Okay? So, when I say, for example, wrong, no. Okay, so here, there's no K whatsoever. I never pronounce the K. I don't say no. I say no. However, there's a silent K. It is what it is. You can change it now. Different, here's an extra E. History, okay, you can't really feel the O. Alright, now let's actually study the words below. Let me actually open this. Okay, so we have these wrong spellings for words, and we're gonna have to correct them. Okay, so you can see number 1 is answer, and I'm pretty sure you guys know how to spell that. So it's N and W. Answer. Okay, so that's what it was missing, a W, a silent W. Here we have an assignment. Actually, I don't know if you guys noticed, but this might be a new word for you guys, but assignment has a silent G. So I'm going to say assignment. Okay, this one's correct. And here's something that I'm going to give you, like a piece of advice, you guys. Try to write down new words so you can memorize it and memorize how it's written better. It helped me when I was studying in school, so it might help you as well. So, C, we have business. Obviously, business has a missing I, so business. Different, we just said this one. Here we have it, E as well. So, different. Evening, I'm guessing this is evening. Yes, it is. Evening. Okay. Then we have friend. Actually, friend, you guys, has a missing I as well. So friend, you don't pronounce it, but it's there. Here we have interest. Interest has double E, kind of like different. So interest. Okay, oh, I heard that as interest. Interest. Okay. Here we have knowledge. This one's like no. Like there's a silent K, like no here. So knowledge. Knowledge. Okay. Here we have laboratory, and this one's just how do you even pronounce this? Laboratory. Okay, so this one's wrong. What we're gonna say is lab. Okay, if a new word, if you want to learn, try to cut the words up. This is actually something that I learned from a YouTuber back in the day, is that cut your words up so you can understand them better, or just be able to write them down better or spell them better. Okay, that makes sense. So lab. Okay, some people are enough with lab, but laboratory. Okay, laboratory. Okay, that's how we say it. So missing O. And then we have listen, And listen actually has a missing T. Okay? So listen. I don't say listen, you guys. These are all silent, by the way. So listen. Okay? Literature. This one's wrong. We have an I. Okay, so he does have the I. What else is we missing? An E. So literature. Okay? Literature. Okay. Mathematics. Okay? We have a missing E as well. This one looks so correct as well too. Like, for a new guy, this will seem like it's totally normal, but we're missing an I. So mathematics. Oh, and I actually mathematics. Okay? Mathematics. Here we have mountains. Mountains has a missing A here, or a silent A, I should say. Mountains. Often. And actually, believe it or not, from what I learned is that often has two pronunciations. You can say often, which is without the T, and you can also say often. So it can be really silent, or I'm talking about the T, obviously. It can be either silent or not silent. So depending obviously on where you live and your pronunciation, but I just want to let you know that both of them are correct. Often, okay? This is a word called reference. You guys remember we talked about a reference book. So reference, okay? A lot of E's. And finally we have the word write with a silent W. Write means to write something down. Alright, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Now let's move on. What do we have? We have skills check 2 here. Now we're going to be talking a little bit about joining sentences with and or but. So we have and or but. We can often join two sentences with and or but, and join sentences with similar information. Okay, so the word and, I'm going to say that one more time, and joins sentences with similar information. So I'm going to go get bananas and apples. Okay. However, if I say but, it means I'm going to join sentences with contrasting information. So let's actually hop into an example here before you guys lose me, or before I lose you guys. They use their cell phones for voice calls, and they use them for texts. Okay, so similar information. Not the same, but similar information. Now let's use but. They sometimes make voice calls, but they usually send text messages. Okay? So when I'm talking about a little bit of difference, I'm going to use but. Okay? Pretty simple stuff so far. Now let's hop into exercise B. So read the text below about the daily lives of university students. Okay? Now let me actually open this here. So here we have choose and underline the best joining word in each case. So I'm guessing this is going to be an exercise based of using but and. Yes, and that's true. We have and or but for different sentences throughout the text, and we're going to have to choose which one is better fitted or better suited for the text. Okay? And also, number 2, we have what do the underlined pronouns refer to in each sentence? And that simply means that who are these pronouns about? You guys know when we talked about pronouns in the 97 course, we were talking about how we use pronouns, so you know the reader or even the writer himself does not get annoyed or bored, or it just seems too repetitive. You know what I mean? So now we're going to be talking about what do these pronouns refer to. What are we talking about? Are we talking about students, researchers, cell phones? You get the idea, okay? So first, let's have a read, and as we go, we're going to be doing both simultaneously, okay? So, researchers in Britain recently looked at the daily life of university students. They, so obviously they here is referring to the researchers. So, number 1 will be the researchers. Okay? And actually, that is not true. I'm going to rewrite that. Researchers. Okay? Pretty simple stuff. Now, let's go to number 2. Talked to 1,000 students at university, and or but they asked them. Okay, so we're going to obviously say and here. They asked about them. So ask, or not asked about them, asked them. Here, we're obviously them referring to the students. So to will be the students. Okay, you guys? About their digital communication. Now let's move to the second paragraph. Most students in the survey never turn off their cell phones. They, so they right here, are, we're actually talking about, or they, the pronoun is referring to cell phones. So, oh, actually forgot to write that down here. So, the cell phones. Okay? Now, let's move on. They're always on during face-to-face meetings, and or they, or but, we're obviously going to use and, they. So, what does they refer to here? They is referring to, they're always on during and again, the cell phones, you guys. Okay? So, the cell phones, one more time. Okay? The cell phones are always on during meal times. Okay? The students always answer their cell phones during face-to-face meetings and or but, obviously, and, okay? And they, obviously referring to the students, so number 5 will be the students, okay? And then we have always answer them during face-to-face meetings, and they always answer them, okay? Them is actually gonna be talking about cell phones. So the cell phones, one more time. The cell phones, okay? Where we have them during meal times, okay? The cell phones are sometimes on during lectures and or but you guys, okay? Because we're gonna be talking about a little bit of a different information, or kind of correlating information. Not correlating. We're gonna use basically opposite information. You're gonna understand in a second here. But they obviously referring to cell phones again. So 7 will be the cell phones. Okay, are usually on silent. Okay, you guys? Now let's move on. The students always listen to their MP3 players on their way to and from university. But, or and, but, let's actually check this. But they never listen to them during lectures. But, because I'm going to change my tone a little bit, okay? I'm going to give kind of similar to however, if you know what I mean, okay? But they, so they will be number 8, and they obviously referring to the students. So the students. Okay? Now, where were we? Never listen to them during lectures. Them here, we're talking about our MP3 players, or the students' MP3 players. So we're just going to write down MP3 players. Okay? The students sometimes communicate with their friends by voice calls and by email. And or but they usually communicate with them by text message. Okay? So let's actually stop for number 10. Voice calls, but they, do we have they here? But they, it's actually not voice. Voice is not a pronoun, so I think this is a mistake right here. It's actually going to be they. Okay, so we'll take it as they, okay, for number 10. So if I'm going to say they, we're obviously referring to the students one more time. Okay, so the students again. And finally, we have number 11 with them. They usually communicate with them, and them here, obviously referring to their friends. Their friends. Okay? Now, let's actually go back to our and or but here. And by email, okay? But they usually communicate with them by text message. So we're going to use but. Where is it? But here we go. Okay, guys, pretty simple stuff. Here are the pronoun, basically what the pronouns in this text refer to. And we already did the and or but. I hope you're able to get it down. Now let's move on. Here we have exercise C here. Let's actually open this. Okay. Now here this is going to be kind of an exercise for our frequency adverb positions that we talked about in the previous page. So here I have I never am late for college, or I am never late for college. And obviously second one is true. I am never late for college. Why? Because the order of our frequency adverbs with verb to be is like so. So I am never late for college. Okay? Number 2, he plays sport often, or he often plays sport after college. That's correct. Number 2, because now we're going to be using order of frequency adverbs, but with different verbs and not verb to be. Okay? Here we have they eat in a restaurant often, or they often eat in a restaurant. And 2 will be correct. They often eat in a restaurant. And again, order of frequency, obviously frequency adverbs, but using it with other verbs and not verb to be. Okay? And then we have number 4. I visit sometimes, or sometimes I visit my parents at the weekend. That's correct. Number 1. So sometimes I visit my parents at the weekends. And can you guys tell me why I chose sometimes I visit and not I visit sometimes? That's correct, because I'm using the order of the word sometimes, or the frequency adverb sometimes. Okay? And that's how it's supposed to be written. Now here we have 5. I every day pray, or I pray every day. That's correct. I pray every day. And this is just simply the order of frequency phrases. Okay? Number 6, we have we study every afternoon in the library, or in the library every afternoon. That's correct. It's in the library every afternoon. Again, order of frequency phrases, you guys. Okay? Here we have number 7. I eat in a restaurant once a week. We literally just talked about this like 10 minutes ago. Once a week, because it's a fixed phrase, you guys. We never say, or a fixed expression, whatever you want to call it. We never say one time a week. Okay? We say once a week, or once. Obviously a week to give extra information. 8. She writes to her parents every week, or every week. Okay, you're going to use every, so I'm going to use every with a week, not weeks, singular. Okay, so every week, every day, every month. I never say every weeks, okay, or every days. Okay, you guys? And then we have number 9. How usually, or how often do you study at weekends? Obviously it will be how often, because it's a question form of a frequency adverb. Okay, so we're using it as a form of question now. 10. What you do, or what do you do most evenings? And again, what do you do most evenings? Because now we're using do as a proverb. Okay, you guys? Pretty simple stuff. Easy. Now let's move on. What do we have here? Alright, no, I think this is a simple survey. You can do it on your own. Just basically ask some questions, ask 10 people from your class, I guess, and mark their answers, okay? And then you can write a short report about your results, but try to use pronouns and join sentences with and but, and you can use this exercise right here, exercise B, to help you out if you have any problems, alright? So this was the end of Unit 2, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.